morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you are listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is September the 3rd, 2021, and today the topic is the truth about temptation. It's Friday, y'all. It's Friday, and the day seems to just speed on by, or the days did. This week seemed to have flown by, and we're already at Friday. We ended up not advertising as we usually do because of some setbacks and whatnot, but we still have an episode of God, Sex, and Love, the talk show that is going live tonight. It is the chat with Pastor Michael Vertner. You may recognize that name because I was on his show not long ago, the Clergy Talk podcast. So he's going to be on GSL tonight, if the Lord's will, at 7 p.m. on our Facebook and on our YouTube. Pastor Michael Vertner. So be on the lookout for that. Again, I would say a well of wisdom. And we talked about a lot of different things. I remember in that conversation. But don't get tired or whatever the case is, because I feel like we touched on some really heavy topics and whatnot at the end of the conversation as well. So hang in with us, y'all. Hang in with us. Check out the episode tonight if you are interested. And I hope that it encourages you and inspires you. So yesterday, kind of regular for the most part. I mean, the most interesting thing I did yesterday was I ended up talking to another lady in the UK for about 3 hours. We're going to be, recording some episodes next week. But we were just kind of, having a getting to know you conversation, and we definitely did that. So, but I don't want to spill the beans. Y'all can find out about her in future episode of GSL and whatnot. But, that was probably one of the things that I say took up the most of my time, but it was probably one of the most interesting things I did yesterday. I mean, everything else was just regular. Well, with the exception of later on that evening, I tuned into a few live, I wouldn't say sermons, but a few live chats, I'll put it like that. So I tuned into Pastor David Lynn last night, which by the time he wrapped up, it ended up being something like a Bible study, and he was explaining some things in regards to Revelations and whatnot that, well, y'all know how it is, when you read Revelations. I mean, if you read the Bible at all, then at least for me, that sometimes getting into Revelations and end time talk and looking around me now and feeling like I'm in the end times and all these different things, it just made me want to pray, which we always should be doing anyway. But that's what it led me wanted to do, because again, he gave me listening to him explain some of the things, of course, gave me a different perspective, and I guess a more clear perspective of some of the things that are currently happening, and again, an understanding and whatnot. And so that was one thing. And then I ended up tuning in to my home girl Angela Stanton King, who's she's more so focused on some of the issues that are going on here in America in particular, but interestingly enough, she does kind of refer to biblical things as well every now and then. And the crazy thing is, for me, is that, keep it real, that probably be the only Bible some of her people that listen to her will receive. And I guess that's why we as Christians should be, on our grind out here, making disciples and doing what we can to spread the gospel and all those different things, because we might be the only Jesus, right? Some people see, or have access to, or whatever the case is. And so you may have noticed that I shared her video as well. Pastor David Lynn, he was on Instagram, so it's kind of hard to share stuff from Instagram. But yeah, there's quite a lot of information to take in. I mean, and just a heads up, I mean, I remember my alarm going off this morning, but for whatever reason, I guess God had to wake me up, and I woke up a little bit later than usual. But y'all see, I'm here just around the same time that I usually go live. So hey, to God be the glory, and hopefully, this juice will encourage and inspire you on today. So, the truth about temptation. Let me just start with the definition before I get into my little commentary, because y'all know. All right, here we go. Temptations. The desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise. I did my prayer meditation this morning, and it was good. But afterwards, I started to think, I can't even remember. I started to think about something. And then that led me to temptation. So I can't remember exactly what that was that I was thinking about right after my prayer meditation, but it led me to that. And one of the things that crossed my mind is like one of the conversations I overheard over the weekend, from my people that went with me and whatnot. Y'all probably know I don't watch too much TV and all of that, so they were talking about some type of show, I guess, with some musical artists or something, I don't know. And then it came up that that one of the ladies was saying that she was delivered from a certain lifestyle. Y'all could probably already deduce what I'm talking about. I haven't seen the show, so I can't sit here and quote the lady verbatim or whatnot. I'm just listening to what they're talking about. And so one of my friends mentioned that, well, if this person was delivered, then basically it shouldn't be an issue anymore, right? Well, I guess I learned in my 20s. I learned back in the day that was not accurate. And maybe you all may wonder why. And so I guess this whole chat today kind of hopefully will give it an understanding and perspective of that, or some reasons why that may be. But I guess in order to have that conversation, we got to talk about temptations in particular, because a lot of times I guess we have an interesting idea of temptations. Like, I don't know, did you have that definition in mind when you think of the word temptation? I don't know. You have to answer that question yourself. But for me, well, let's just talk about what the word has to say. So 1 Corinthians 10:13, it says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it." So, for me, right, this verse right here says it already says a lot, right? It says a lot of different things here. One, it's letting us know that we're going to be tempted. Now, I don't know about you, but this don't say nothing about that you won't be tempted, X, Y, and Z. This is saying no temptation has overtaken you that has not been coming to man. God is faithful. He would not let you be tempted beyond your ability, and so on. So it's telling us that we're going to be tempted. And what is temptation? We're going to have the desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise. We are going to be tempted. This verse already confirms it. Now, it says here, right, that our temptations are not uncommon. So a lot of times we feel alone. And I felt that, and I've talked about that probably in one of my first chats here on YouTube. And y'all already know, those of you that follow me or have, been watching me since I've been posting on Actress Miracle Sims, that sometimes it feels like you're the only one going through something, right? But at the end of the day, the word here tells us that the temptations we go through is not uncommon. So that's another thing that I'm receiving from this verse here. Now, the next thing I get from reading just that verse right there is that God is going to be with me in my temptation. So, because it's saying God is faithful and he will not let you be tempted beyond your abilities. And if I stop right there, that's letting me know that God is with me, right? And he's not going to let me be tempted beyond what my ability. That's what it's saying here. So we know that we're going to be tempted. We know that my temptation is not uncommon. And I know that God is with me in the midst of my temptation. And he is not going to let me be tempted beyond my ability. So what is that saying to me? Well, it's telling me that if I am tempted, right? If I have the desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise, that I have the power to resist that temptation. Now, I don't know what what you receive, but that's what it's telling me. Just this one verse right here. And then, let me see. Let's wrap up this verse here. It says, but he will also provide a way of escape that you may be able to endure it. So not only do I have the power to resist the temptation, but I can escape, because there's going to be a way for me to escape the temptation, so I can endure that temptation, which is the desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise. Man, that right there by itself, if that ain't some good juice, I don't know what it is. I mean, what more can be said? And I get it, man. Like, when you're going through that temptation, if you're going through something and you feel as if, man, this is the hardest thing to deal with, you'd be like, man, because at the end of the day, you want to do whatever it is, whatever the temptation is, you want to do that thing. But hopefully this encourages you and inspires you to know that at the end of the day, you don't have to do that thing, right? You have the power to resist that thing. And at the end of the day, if you look for it, you're going to find the way out of that thing. I'm reminded of, I can't remember his name right now, but the biblical figure that was tempted by the Potiphar's wife. Can't remember his name right now. Y'all know who I'm talking about, or maybe y'all do. I don't know. But he was tempted by the wife of the man he was working for. I don't know if y'all remember that that biblical account. Well, the way out of that temptation was literally for the man to run. The lady had his robe. He left his robe and ran. Sometimes you might have to run from the temptation, y'all, but you have a way out. A lot of times, maybe the temptation, avoiding the temptation at all is a way of escape. Not putting yourself in positions to be tempted, and all those different type of things. So people, so again, like when I'm over here with my friend or whatnot, and I'm saying, well, if she's delivered, then whatever, it shouldn't be no issue anymore. Well, no, like when you get delivered from something, I feel like, and this is just me, this is what I've observed and what I've encountered in my life, that as you do more for God, as you lean towards his way and his will and all those different things, you're going to get more temptations coming your way. And they might not look the same. They might, some may be centered around whatever you are already dealing with. Some may be some brand new stuff. But one way or another, these things, right, temptations or what desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise, will come. And it's up to you to exercise that power that we have within, whether that be self-control or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, that right there by itself, honestly, for me is already a lot. But, I mean, I got a few more verses to share. But let me see. There was something that just crossed my mind. I just can't remember what it was at the moment. Maybe I'll think about it later. Maybe I'll just focus on what the Bible got to say instead of my extra commentary. I'll do that. All right, so let's see what else the Bible got to say, right? So Mark 14:38, it says, "Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Now, yeah, we know he was talking to the people that was with him, the disciples that was with him when he was going to pray, and he was asking them to watch and pray, and they kept falling asleep. Y'all remember that account? Bible believers and Bible readers, you might be familiar. However, how does this be incorporated into our lives, right? How is this incorporated to or with us, or to us, or for us, or with us? You know what I'm talking about. Well, I mean, again, the word says that we always should be praying anyway, so that's one thing. But if we already know, like the first verse reiterated, that we're going to be tempted. So if we already know that we're going to be tempted, then what we should be doing is watching and praying, right? So that we won't enter into the temptation. And because the spirit is willing and the flesh is weak. I mean, I believe that was Paul that talked about the thorn in his side. Like, again, like I said, any account that things that I've encountered in my life is the more I lean towards God, the more different types of temptations come. And it's like, man, so we have to watch and pray so we won't be, we won't enter into the temptation. I'll tell you guys, this will be a slight testimony, I don't know, but basically something that and I don't know if it's a temptation, maybe it's just something that's trying to get me to do something wrong or unwise. So yeah, I guess it is a temptation. I guess a lot of times people think about temptations as sexual and whatnot, but temptations could be in like a lot of different forms. It don't have to just be about sexual sin. It can be about like stealing, it could be about murder, or it could be like the desire to do something, especially something wrong. So whatever is wrong, evil, any of those things can be temptations, and unwise. That's also a sign of temptations as well, according to the definitions. I don't know if this is a temptation, but I'm gonna go ahead and share the testimony briefly. We'll see what the Lord do. Basically, I would say that maybe something that I'm dealing with right now is that I feel like sometimes some people do things to me that I don't think they would do to anybody else. And that's, I don't know if I would say a trigger, but that's like, and it's tempting me, right, to lean into other people's way of handling situations like what people, I feel like, put me in. Now, sometimes I'm able to address it, able to address it head on, or, put some truth on it, or whatever the case is, and it gets understood or rectified. But in other ways, it's like some people you just can't communicate with, and it's just the weirdest interaction. And for me, it's like, it can be difficult, right? And then, I'll find myself frustrated, and I'll find myself like, trying to figure out how to handle the situations. And, yeah, I don't know how deep I get into like this current situation right now. I mean, it's not necessarily, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to handle it at the moment. But I just feel like sometimes when I'm dealing with certain people, again, like I can't imagine them doing the things that they do to me or whatever to someone. Well, maybe they would do it to someone else, but I mean, I can only go for me, right? I can only talk about me and my own testimony and what I'm going through, right? So I don't know how they deal with other people, but it just seems like, from my point of view, that certain things, when people do it, and it can be a temptation, it can be, like I said, a trigger or something like that, and you're like, man, why are they doing this? Like, what is wrong? Like, man, like this could be so simple, but you rather make it hard. In my Lauryn Hill voice, like, like goodness gracious. But at the end of the day, these are the temptations, right? These are the things that are trying to, make us do something wrong or unwise. Like at the end of the day, like, again, trying to figure out like how to handle certain situations. And again, sometimes I try to face it head on. Sometimes I just feel like, is it worth it for me to even try to waste my time and energy explaining something to somebody that just don't get it or just don't want to get it or whatever the case is. So that can be a frustrating temptation for me, So, aside from any other things that I've dealt with in life, like I noticed that the more I resist, some of the, I guess, I say bigger things, because they all can be on the same plane, but some other things that I've dealt with in my life, some other temptations, eventually those temptations will flee. And I'm going to share the verse with you to remind us of that. However, then you're going to probably get some other type of temptation is the reason why I'm sharing this with you. So again, we should always be watching and praying and so why? That we may not enter into temptation. And why should, at the end of the day, it's telling us the reasons why. It's because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And yes, we are flesh, y'all. We are flesh. So we need the spirit, right? We need God. And so we need to watch and pray. James 4:7 says, submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. I mean, I was just talking about that verse, right? Yeah. So, again, the more we submit ourselves to God, the more that, the devil will flee from us. Now, he'll probably try to show up in a different way, like I've already reiterated, but just continue to submit yourselves, therefore, to God and resist the devil, y'all. We can do it. We have the power to do it. It's just, do you want to? I think that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. And a lot of times what happens is we don't want to. And so we just do whatever we want to do and lean into the temptation. And then at the end of the day, we're like, well, why is it good? Why was I tempted? Or why was this? Well, because you put yourself in a situation to be tempted. Sometimes it's just that, you know what I mean? But that's a whole other thing. And no judgment, we all go through it. I mean, we all are tempted. I'm gonna talk to you all about it. I'm gonna keep sharing with y'all. Let me see. Hebrews 2:18. It says, for because he himself was tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted. There you go. Jesus can help us because he too was tempted. Now that's the one thing, I think it's going to be on one of these other verses and whatnot. Because sometimes what I would say in the midst of my temptations will be like, well, Lord, because y'all know a lot of my temptations had to do with sex and all that. Y'all already told y'all that. So when I was going through those type of temptations, because again, I've had others as well. But that particular one, I was like, well, Lord, I don't see no accounts of you going through, that. But it said that he was tempted in all counts. So 1. And then 2, I mean, with him being a man, I mean, you just would, I guess you could assume, I mean, he had a lot of women around him. He probably had that temptation too. Now, why it wasn't documented, I don't know. But, hey, he was tempted, therefore he can help us through the temptation at the end of the day. Galatians 5:17, it says, for the desires of the flesh are against the spirit, and the desires of the spirit are against the flesh. For these things are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things you want to do. Well, again, it don't get no plainer than that to me. If we're sitting here wondering, why is it like this? Why is this temptation taking over me? I don't want to do the thing that I do. This thorn in my side, like Paul said. I mean, this is the reason why. Again, I got this advice some years ago, or this reminder some years ago, that, at the end of the day, what you feed is what's going to grow, right? So if you grow the spirit, right, your spirit man, as they say, then that's what, you're going to be leaning to, and you're going to be doing these things that I've said here, praying and submitting yourself to God and all those things, and you'll get stronger in that area, so much so that, hey, new temptations will come your way. You probably won't deal with the same temptations over and over again. However, on the flip side, if you keep feeding that one temptation, whatever it is, feeding it, and leaning into it all the time and putting yourself in the situation to, be tempted, and this thing, you in the midst of it again and again and again, then that's because, it's a constant battle. Flesh and spirit is a constant battle within each of us, as well as the bigger battle of good and evil. Like, that's what it is. And so, again, first verse lets us know that we're going to have this. It's not going away. It just might change. And that's the reality to me. Temptations are not going to completely be gone. They're just going to probably try to show up in a different way. Especially as you lean more into God. So, y'all, y'all can go deeper about this. There's several verses in the Go Deeper section that you all can peruse and let marinate on your heart, souls, and minds. One of them that I want to share with you all is James 1:14. It says, "But every man is tempted when he is drawn away by his own lust and enticed." Let me reiterate one more thing. It says, by his own lust, a way of his own lust and enticed. At the end of the day, like, I know people take issue with certain sins getting more or being talked about more than other sins and all those things, right? So, again, sin is sin to God. Like, my sin, your sin, everybody's sin is still evil in God's eyes. Okay? So, it don't matter what it is. If it's not of God, if it's not good, then that means it's evil. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? But even to myself, I had to be like, Miracle, hey, y'all, I'm just telling y'all, like, people so, anyway, let's focus here. So when we think about temptations, right, it doesn't really matter, at the end of the day, if it's, the temptation is what? The desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise. So whatever your temptation is, you may notice that at the end of the day, whatever you're tempted by might be different from what someone else is tempted by. Does that make the temptations one worse than the other or something like that? Not to God. Not to God. Like, we're the ones that try to put one thing over another and be like, well, my sin or my temptation isn't as bad as their sin and their temptation, or whatever the case is. We just need to keep in mind that at the end of the day, we're going to be tempted, right, by our own lust. And so I guess once we start, once you realize whatever your lust is, then you start to resist that thing, or whatever the case is. It will flee from you according to the word. However, I would just say, just be prepared, right? Watch and pray for whatever other temptations are going to try to come your way. And most likely it's going to be things that you like. Maybe you won't be tempted to, do whatever somebody else's temptation. And, but the things you like, right? The things that you desire, watch and pray. So, that's the juice, y'all. That is the juice. But the Bible verse of today is Joel 2:12. It says, "Therefore also now saith the Lord, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mournings." And with mourning. Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.
There's no time to get my nails done. Oh, I know. I went to unwindselfcare.com and got my 100% nail polish strips. Thanks, Unwind Self Care.